you trying to get crazy with this shit? Don't you know I'm loco?
When I was like 17, 18 years old, I started seeing some black and gray tattoos by Carlos Torres, Franco Vescovi, Chubby, Mr. Cartoon, of course, and all those great artists. And I was so inspired by them that I thought maybe I can use my drawing skills and start doing beautiful black and gray tattoos, because I always like to draw with a pencil, just a gray pencil.
What's up, everybody? The Lower Left Podcast. I'm Bobby Ruiz, aka Bobby Tribal, 17th and Island, San Diego at the Lower Left. Johnny Be Good in the house.
Yo, what's up?
And this one is part of, I'd say it's an international series. We got a good friend of mine from Moscow who's now he's been residing in Southern California. He's tattoos out of the Vatican. His name's Dmitry Troshin. So I did that right.
Yep.
This Troshin?
I've known him for a long time. We actually met in Montreal at a tattoo convention. But man, real solid dude and a great tattooer. Like just one of those guys you hear like, man, have you seen this Russian dude? You know, and this is that Russian dude. You know, people are looking at tattoos, and you know, we're tripping out on people from all over the world. Just the quality and you know, the talent that comes from all over the world.
I was telling Bobby earlier, I was looking on your IG, and there was a guy that had Moscow on his back, upper back, and then he had like you did like a 39 bomb lowrider on the lower back. This is a long time ago. I'm like, that's a trip to see like Moscow, and then like a lowrider underneath of it.
He's a fan too.
Yeah, that was cool.
But yeah, man, he does get down. Super detailed guy. But welcome to the podcast. And,
thank you.
And I know you've been busy, so thanks for taking the time to come down and visit. And he's got one of his homies with him. His buddy Max is here. Moscow Max. Now, what's his real name's Max?
Max Vtornik, or just Max 28.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
But so how it's I mean, there's a lot of questions I want to ask about Russia, obviously, because you know, here you are now. You're living out here. You work out here. You found yourself one of the most amazing, sickest crews in Southern California, baddest shops, one of the baddest shops to work in. So what's that like? You know, just working at the Vatican and being around so much talent and just transitioning from Russia to Southern California.
You know, it's like a dream come true, because since I was a kid, I was like dreaming about moving, especially like in the US, and California was like just a dream for me. And now I'm here working at one of the best tattoo studios and sponsored by like the best tattoo company, Bishop Rotary. And it's great. I mean, I really appreciate this opportunity.
What about your art? Like, who inspired you? Have you been drawing since you were a kid, or where did all that come from? And then how did it turn into tattooing?
I've been drawing all my life, and when I was like 2-3 years old, I used to draw a lot of police cars with a lot of smoke around them. I just wanted that action in the picture. But I never thought about doing tattoos, because all the tattoos I saw back then, it was like traditional tattoos with bold lines and colors and stuff like that, which I didn't like at all. Mm-hmm. So all tattoos I've seen was like that. Mm-hmm. But when I was like 17, 18 years old, I started seeing some black and gray tattoos by Carlos Torres, Franco Vescovi, Chubby, Mr. Cartoon, of course, and all those great artists. And I was so inspired by them that I thought maybe I can use my drawing skills and start doing beautiful black and gray tattoos, because I always like to draw with a pencil, just a gray pencil.
It worked.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Go
for
ahead.
it.
Oh, yeah. There was a portrait that you did of like Danny Trejo like a long time ago, and that detail was so like it looked like him. Like you can see all his his marks on his face. Like that was like I was like blown away. Because also you did Al Pacino and some other ones, and the detail was crazy.
Thank you.
And
Yeah,
I think that like translates into the next thing, right? With like tattoos and stuff.
yeah, and I did all those drawings before I started tattooing, so I was just preparing myself to switch to another tool. And yeah.
How hard was it for you to get those tools in Russia? Here's the thing, man. Like, growing up here is we have this, the majority, including myself, of us have never been to Russia. We all we know about Russia is what social media shows us or what the news tells us. And, we just had lunch and I've known you for a while, but we kind of got into a pretty cool conversation about Russia. And it seems like a pretty interesting, cool place to be. It doesn't seem like as negative as the media portrays it to be here, for political reasons, I'm sure. But was it difficult for you to find tattoo equipment and ink and find somebody to show you how to tattoo in Russia? Or is that stuff kind of readily available, or did you have to kind of go underground to get it?
I started tattooing about 8 years ago, and back then we already had some great tattoo artists to learn from. So we had some equipment available to purchase, but mostly it was either like cheap Chinese equipment, like copies of some popular tattoo machines and cheap needles and stuff like that, or Russian machines from Russian builders, which weren't like much better than Chinese copies of real tattoo machines. So it was a struggle just to get a good equipment back then, but still it was possible. It wasn't like underground completely. It wasn't like in Japan or...
So you've only been tattooing for 8 years?
Yeah.
Damn. So if you don't already follow this dude, what's your IG? It's
Mr. Troshin.
Yeah, Mister.
Yeah.
Troshin. Yeah, Mr. Troshin. So for only tattooing 8 years, you're on a completely other level. Do you think it's just the discipline, the practice, and obviously you have a natural ability to tattoo?
I'm not sure if it's impressive anymore, because nowadays some kids tattooing like 1 or 2 years and they are already better than me or more interesting than me. So 8 years is kind of long.
It's because you see a lot of your own stuff. It's like, I think maybe you just see your own stuff all the time. So going back to the whole Russian thing, like what's the attraction, or what do people in Russia think about Southern California and just the states in general, and what was the attraction for you to move here? Like what attracted you to want to actually relocate to Southern California?
I think it's all about the culture, lowriders, black and gray tattoos, again views, weather, stuff like that. It's hard to beat, and there's a lot of fans in Russia of this lifestyle, like skateboarding, tattooing, surfing. So it's pretty popular.
So people in Russia kind of I think it's kind of most of the world, they look at Southern California as that mecca, if you will, for culture and those things that are, basically Southern California skateboarding, surfing, and some hip hop and lowriders and Chicano stuff and things like that. So there's obviously just it attracts not just people from Russia, but from all over the world. And is it we had this conversation earlier, but do you think it's a class thing? It's a style thing? It's a image thing? Well, what do you think it is that attracts people to all of this?
I think first of all, it's kind of similar as here. When you listen to hip hop music and see all those famous rappers, and they get tattoos from cartoon and other artists, and people like it, and they want to look similar to them, and they try to copy their look, their clothing, their tattoos. So I think it all came from this point.
So basically, just from what the media is showing them and what they're seeing in movies and music videos and things like that.
Yeah, because West Coast rap influenced a lot, like in Russia too, and Russian hip hop is for sure influenced by United States hip hop music. So
Russian hip hop. I don't think I know there's some really great Russian b-boys. I can't say that I ever heard any Russian hip hop. What's that like?
I think I would say 80, maybe 85% of Russian hip hop is a straight copycat of American hip hop music. But there are some unique artists who does different stuff and who influences modern American rappers too. So
some of the Russian hip hop acts are inspiring. You think some of the American
I think so,
stuff?
Yeah. Because I saw a lot of videos where local hip hop artists listen to Russian hip hop and they're impressed, even though they cannot understand the language. They're still impressed by the flow, by the way they rap,
the beats, and just the whole overall sound of
Is
it.
there a geographical location within Russia that is like known for like hip hop or art, tattoos? You know, like here it's like New York and when California like are the two main ones.
Well, Russia is pretty much very centralized country, so everybody either live in Moscow or St. Petersburg, or they want to move to Moscow and St. Petersburg. So these are the centers of all the culture and everything. So even there are some talented artists in small cities, eventually they move to Moscow anyway.
Wow.
He was telling me that a lot of people, that one of the attractions to move out of Russia to tattoo is that the people that really have the money, or people that can afford good tattoos, aren't buying good tattoos. They'd rather spend their money on like Louis bags and Gucci and high-end clothing and kicks
just
and stuff.
have
like
them get a Louis tattoo.
There it is.
Gucci tattoo.
Problem solved. So that the attraction is for you to kind of, or a lot of tattooers, you were saying, to leave Russia and venture into Europe and the States and other parts of the world to actually make some good money, and then either go back to Russia or to just relocate.
Yeah, I would say it's a problem nowadays because there is a lot of very talented tattoo artists in Russia, in Moscow, and different cities, and they just can't make this much money there. So they have to travel to Europe, they have to travel to the United States and other countries. So even if they wanted to live in Moscow, why would you if you can make like 10 times more money in different countries, in other countries?
Yeah. So how about without getting into politics and all that kind of stuff, Russian people in general, like we're like I said, we're fed a lot, and we don't, most people that are listening to this don't really have the opportunity to talk to anybody from Russia, or they don't know people from Russia. They know what they see on their Instagrams and pictures and things like that. And do you feel like that people from Russia are a lot of them are content and happy in their lifestyle, and that they're they enjoy living within, I guess, Russian society?
As I heard, statistically, people's happiness going down every year.
Yeah.
So a lot of people just move to different countries just because of that, just because they aren't so happy in Russia anymore, and they just want better life.
And why is that, you think?
A lot of restrictions from government, a lot of again, political stuff, and
cold weather.
no, it's not as cold. No. It's like I would say Moscow is similar to New York or.
Man, when you see it, it looks freezing.
And I related to like Arnold Schwarzenegger and what was that, Red Heat or something like that movie back in the 80s.
Yeah.
Just cold.
No, it's not like that.
Okay.
So what do you miss most about it? Like since you've been out, how long have you been living out here, and what do you miss most about back in Russia?
I've been living here for 3 years, and I guess I miss only my friends, my family, and maybe food.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also cool to walk around the city, Moscow, where I'm from. And I mean, it's a beautiful city. And as a tourist, I would really enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
But as a citizen and as somebody who was born and raised there, I can't say I'm a big fan of it. So from a tourist viewpoint, it's much better.
Yeah. So is there a lot of like here, we're in San Diego's East Village. There's homeless people outside. There's homeless people all over Southern California. Hollywood's full of a lot of homeless people. There's problems with, drugs and gangs and whatever else that's going on down here, or just, in general in the States or big cities of America. Are there those sorts of problems in Russia as well?
It's a little bit different because unlike in the United States, homeless people in Russia don't have rights. So you cannot just, here, police cannot just take homeless people and put them in jail or move them somewhere because they have rights.
Yeah.
In Russia, it's different. So they pretty much cleaned all the homeless people from Moscow a few years ago, maybe 5-7 years ago. So
what did they do with them?
I'm not sure. They just gone.
Poof. So yeah, here it's like they can't touch their stuff.
Yeah,
they can't arrest them. They don't move them. They have rights. And then besides having rights, there's people that stick up for them, and people that they go out of their way and dedicate time and energy to protecting the homeless people.
Mm-hmm.
Me being in this building for 10 years and working around so many homeless people, and I know some of the homeless people around here personally, and just talk to them. But there's a lot of people that come down here and think that they're doing a great deed for the homeless, when sometimes they are, and sometimes they're kind of, they don't understand the true problem. They don't understand what, or they don't have to walk into work and walk over hypodermic needles and shit and piss and trash and what other some of these businesses and neighbors and people have to do. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword, It's like there's veterans down here that shouldn't be on the street, but don't want anything to do with any other sort of institution. There's, obviously drug addicts and drug dealers and, all kinds of crazy shit going on. But it's a much bigger issue than people just see a person on the street just sitting there. It's like there's a story. Mm-hmm. Every single one of these people has a story. But that's interesting, man. So what they did in Moscow or the cities in Russia is they just cleaned up the streets. They don't have rights. They take all their shit, and the people, who knows if they put them in jail or they put them.
Yeah, I'm
somewhere.
not sure where they're gone. But the other difference is that government in the United States paying to those homeless people, right? So they get some money monthly. Mm-hmm. And it's not like that in Russia. So they have to earn their money. So even if you live on the streets, you have to earn the money. And here, as I heard, again, I'm not sure about if it's true or not, but I heard that people get paid from government a couple $1,000 or something like that. So they kind of can survive on the streets, and some of them just feel comfortable on the streets.
That's true too. Some of them they enjoy that living on the streets, believe it or not, as a lifestyle and living off, away. Not, I don't know if it's off the grid or just out of the system, so to speak. But that's interesting, man. What about drugs and gangs? And we've always heard about the Russian mafia and stuff like that. And if you can't talk about it, that's cool too, because we hear all kinds of crazy shit about Russia, bro. Because growing up, it was always like, fuck the Russians, and because obviously the other superpower and but you know, as I was a little kid, and most people, the media feed you all kinds of bullshit, and they're just trying to put shit in your head. But I think it's, you know, talking to somebody that can, from Russia, that can really give you what's really going on, you know?
Mm. Well, that's just my opinion, so I'm not saying it's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I would say that all those gangsters and mafia that was in 90s in Russia, they eventually either died or went into politics.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't say we still have any gangs or stuff like that on the streets.
Right.
I would much more scared of a police in Moscow than just a crazy dude with a gun or a knife or something like that. Because I've been searched by police like illegally, like all my car and all my stuff without any reasons, and they don't.
Me too.
They don't follow the protocol and stuff like that.
Right.
And we can't do anything about it. Here, I guess you can sue them or do some stuff like that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
How did they interact with like people that had tattoos and stuff like that? Were the police more like prone to go after, you know, people with tattoos or treat them differently, or what was that like?
I think we still get treated differently a little bit, but it's getting more common, and even you can see in subway some people like with their face tattoos and stuff like that. I think it mostly bothers like older people who are not used to that, and they are kind of scared of this kind of like young dudes with tattoos on their faces because they think they are from prison, but they're not. They're just young kids who want to look cool and put tattoos on their faces.
Yeah. I don't know if that's cool though, but
that must be like a worldwide thing, right?
Yeah.
Because there was that transition where it was like here it was military, like sailors, you know, gang members, people who've been in prison, bikers, and you know, people from like our culture who would just grew up in it that weren't none of that stuff or, you know, loosely affiliated. And now, you know, like you said, everyone has it. It's more common, so it's more accepted.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, Putin, you know,
Yep.
we've heard so many things about Putin, and obviously he's been in the news, and he's the Russian dude, Putin. What do Russian people, how do they feel about Putin?
So there is like a few different generation of people in Russia. Older people, they really love Putin because he basically just freed country from all that gangster shit that were going on in the 90s. And for them, he's a hero, he's a legend, and they're gonna vote for him like no matter what. And younger people who was born after like 1990 or like 2000s, they haven't seen any other president in their life because he's been a president for over 20 years. And they just don't know what to think. So for them, it's fine too. But people in between those two categories, they have more different opinions about him. So some people understand that. I would say for me, one of the biggest problems in Russia is that we have a lot of good stuff. We have a lot of like oil, gold, and things we export to other countries. And if you look at Emirates, for example, people are rich just because their country is rich. Russia as a country is super rich. It might be like the richest country in the world. But all that good stuff is owned by just a few people who are either in government or in business, which is pretty much the same as government. And they make money on it. And all the other like 99.9% of people live poor. Mm-hmm. And they don't get any benefits of their country's treasures. And that's, I think, the biggest problem, because we pay a lot for like gas and stuff like that, which we probably don't have to do because it's our gas, and we shouldn't pay for it so much, and we shouldn't pay like twice more for different things. So that's the most like unfair thing I think about our country.
So. Do you think the majority of people are content under Putin, or do they like him? Are they cool, like being governed by the Putin government, or do you think it's
I'm not sure about percentage of people who are happy about him and unhappy, but I know a lot of people who are unhappy and very few people who are happy.
Okay.
But that's probably just my circle.
Yeah.
Yeah, so most of those people would love to move somewhere else if they could. But again, making money in Russia, it's really hard to move to any other country because it's much more expensive to live there if you make money in Russia. So some people can, some people are afraid to do these huge steps in their lives, and they just stay living in Russia. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just it could be better.
Yeah. So if I'm understanding that there's a very small elite that owns the majority of the wealth.
Yeah.
And then there's a small middle class, or
I think it's hard nowadays to see what middle class is in Russia, because I would think that I'm a middle class, but I probably make much more money than most of middle class, and I make nothing compared to some people who really make money. So I'm not sure what to say about middle class.
It's yeah. So I mean, basically, what we know about Putin is, again, like what we've been fed. So that was kind of enlightening. You know, what were you gonna say?
Does the government like throttle the internet or control the internet or restrict access at sometimes?
They trying to. And sometimes it's very funny because they're trying to block some kind of like websites or a social network, and it just doesn't work because people like find VPN or some stuff like that and just still use it. And but sometimes they're trying to move like all Russian people to their own kind of internet, but I'm not sure if it's going to happen anytime soon. Another thing about unhappy Russian people, I know some people who moved to United States or Canada or somewhere else just because they had their business in Russia, and one day they just had like a couple of guys from pretty much from government stopping by and telling them, now it's my business. You just go away or you're in jail. And they moved out of Russia just to not go to jail because they had successful business. Because if you have successful business, you either have to know somebody and pay somebody,
extortion.
or you just lose
gangster shit.
Yeah, but it's not gangster shit anymore. It's government shit.
So the gangsters turned government.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Like that's kind of what we were talking about earlier, how he cleaned it up, but he moved them in. Right? Is that kind of like what happened? Like, yeah, he cleaned up all the gangster stuff and all the corruption and things like that, but he just kind of maybe organized it even more and moved it into the. Yeah, you don't have to say anything. I'll say.
Now it's just a small circle of like very, very rich people in Russia who own pretty much everything, and all other people don't get any benefits from it, from country's own treasures and stuff like that. So that's unfair. And
that's a trip, stuff. Right? Like you said, Russia's resource rich.
Yeah.
And yet, like the people of the country don't benefit from those resources.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sucks.
Because if you compare to, let's say, Norway, from I've heard, if somebody just, if everyone in the country just lose their job right now, their country can still pay them salaries, exactly the same salaries from their like money for like 50 years or something, and they would do it.
Yeah,
and
that's
people feel safe.
Yeah.
So people don't mind paying like higher taxes in Norway and those countries just because they know that government cares about them, and people in Russia just know that government doesn't care about them.
Yeah.
So how long have you been learning English? Because you speak very well.
I disagree.
No, like you know, there's some people that've been in here all their life and still have like a major thick accent. You speak, pretty eloquent.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm still struggling, and my vocabulary is still very poor. But some people move here and they still feel comfortable just speaking to other Russian people, then they don't need to speak English. So, I mean, I always like this language, and I always listen to hip hop music. And even though I couldn't understand what they're saying, I just like how it sounds like. Yeah. So I'd love to learn more.
Like learning any language, you learn the cuss words first.
Yeah, pretty much. From the movies, from music, stuff like that.
Well, that's because like I said, we've these are things that were kind of put in our heads as kids. So let's get back to your tattooing. Like, who besides, so those are the dudes that inspired you pretty much, is Carlos, Franco, people
yeah,
like
Jose
that.
Lopez, Jun Cha, all those guys who pretty much like started this modern black and gray era.
But I think you've put your, like, I know, like, just because your name pops up a lot when people talk about international tattooing and just quality work from overseas, and you're probably like a big deal in Russia now, aren't you? Like, people are probably tripping on you. Like, look at this dude. Now he's in Southern California. He's kind of rubbing elbows with all these dudes.
I think I'm mostly known between tattoo artists in that culture. So I'm not famous for like regular people. Nobody would just recognize me on the street and ask for a like signature.
Maybe next year.
Maybe.
After this.
So you're working a lot. Like, how many days are you tattooing? And
Nowadays I'm tattooing 5 days a week. Just working hard.
And it's and you're living in Orange County.
Yep.
So
How'd you pick Orange County to move to?
When I first came to the United States, we've been in New York and Los Angeles, California, and I booked like 5 different guest spots in 5 different tattoo studios. It was like Carlos Torres' old studio, Chuy Quintanar's studio, Franco Vescovi's studio, Jose Lopez studio. So all those most important studios for me, they agreed to take me as a tattoo artist, as a guest artist. Yeah, that was
like a big deal.
It is a big deal because these dudes, like, they can pick and choose who they want in their shop. So, and
they also said yes to me to go there and tattoo with them, and I was so like impressed by that. So I just tattoo it in different areas, and then I spent some time with Franco and his studio and all those guys, and I was so
impressed by Franco's impersonations.
Yeah, and all those guys. I mean, they're so nice, so friendly, and I mean, you can't beat that.
Yeah.
So we just decided to stay in Orange County.
That's dope. It's a big crew. So besides tattooing, I know you've got a couple other projects that you're working on, and one that you kind of just got, basically people were asking you for advice so much, and how do you do this and how do you do that, and just fans of your work, or people just interested in tattooing. Can you tell me a little bit about that project? Yeah,
so I was one of the first modern artists who started tattooing with a 3-round liner, which is almost like single needle, just a little bit thicker. And it wasn't as common like 8 years ago, because everybody did mags and traditional stuff. So I just wanted to do something different. And as a pencil drawing artist, I was just looking for my own style, something new, something unique. And I started doing this stuff. And I guess after a few years, it got like pretty popular. So people started asking me, how do I do that stuff? What needles I prefer, what voltage, what inks, and so on. So after a few years of just answering questions every day, I think I answered more questions from tattoo artists than from potential clients, which is weird. But
asking about your technique, and your like the way you're tattooing with.
Yeah, I just had more questions from tattoo artists than from potential clients. So I was just answering the same questions every day, and then I just thought that I should make it into something to maybe teach more people, to make it more available to people. So I started this YouTube show. It's called Boring Tattooer. And I just did like simple videos. I think it's like 6 episodes so far. I'm doing a couple more right now, working on the more extensive lessons for tattoo artists. So I'm basically teaching them everything from the basics: how to set up your station, what not to do, what to do, how to clean it up, how to make it safe for you and for your clients. And because I think this stuff is missing right now, because people just like so many artists who get into tattooing, they only worried about like making money, getting fame and stuff like that. And they don't really think about these safety things, and all that is important because it's still somebody's health and well-being. So I think I started with that, and now I'm switching slowly to my techniques, teaching people how to do stuff like me, and most important, how to do it different than me. How to do something new.
Why different? What do you mean? Different style or just to different
technically, different compositions. Because, I mean, I want to be inspired by other people too. Because when I started tattooing, I saw all those different guys like Carlos Torres doing his stuff, Jose Lopez doing completely different stuff. Even though it's still black and gray, still in one culture, it's completely different by look, by technique, by approach. And now I want to be inspired too by someone. So when I teach people how I do my stuff, I'm just hoping that they can learn from me and start inventing something. So maybe like next year I can learn something new from them.
Yeah. So using your technique as kind of a stepping stone to move forward.
Yeah, it's just I mean, some people think there is some magic, there is some secret in what I'm doing. But
there is, dude. I seen your work.
Thank you. But I mean, I don't think so. It's simple. It's just you take a machine and you do your tattoo. So,
but I think looking at the different techniques that you use, there's also a lot of patience, and yeah, people I guess would wonder on your technique. So it's called Boring Tattooer.
Yeah, that's my YouTube show.
And anybody could just go on and log on to it. And
it's
how does
free.
it work?
It's free. It's just YouTube videos.
So it's just something you did out of the kindness of your heart.
Yeah,
that's nice, dude. So because people are just like, just ask. You just got tired of asking questions, and you're right though, because we had a conversation the other day with Edmar and Isaac, and they were talking about just how even apprenticeship isn't really what it used to be either. So knowing how to set up your station and how to clean up, and like you said, to keep your client and yourself safe in regards to like germs and contamination and things like that. So you cover all that type of stuff.
Yeah, because I would say that apprenticeship, as it used to be like 10, 15 years ago, now is pretty much dead. Because people don't have patience to go through like a couple of years of washing floors in a tattoo studio.
They want to make the money.
Yeah, they just want to start right away and make millions.
Yeah.
That's what they want. So there's a lot of missing in their learning curve.
Yeah. So in regards to just how have you immersed in the Southern California? What else do you do besides just tattooing and eat Mexican food? Like what else do you enjoy doing? Like what's your weekends and your time off consist of?
Anytime I have some time off and I don't have to do anything, I just try to go out, go in the nature, either to the beach or mountains or somewhere else. I'd really love to explore United States more, because I mean, even in California, there is so many cool spots that I haven't seen. And I'm pretty sure I can spend like a few years just driving around the United States and seeing some cool places.
That's true, man. Like I've done some just 5 hours from here or less. You can go up to. Have you been down the one from like Monterey down to Santa Barbara, Highway 1 that comes along the coast?
Yeah, we drove all the way to San Francisco on the Highway 1.
Down, so on the coast, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then there's like the sequoias, and you can go to Yosemite. Zion is beautiful too in Utah, and there's so much cool stuff to see that you don't really have to go too far. Like there's so much natural beauty just close to Southern California. That's cool, man. Because a lot of people, they just get stuck in, which I guess isn't a bad thing if that's what you're into, and just, all the parties and clubs and nightlife and, whatever else they're into, which is cool too, but exploring, right? So just exploring around, seeing what you can find.
Yeah, that's one of the differences between United States and Russia, because we have like a huge country and it's beautiful. There's a lot of like lakes, mountains and stuff like that, but you have to travel so far to see those places. You have to fly for like 10 hours just to get to some cool lake on cool mountains.
No shit.
Yeah. And here you can just drive for a couple of hours and you're there.
Yeah.
So it's so much more available to people to explore.
So
nature.
10 hours so you can't just drive out of Moscow and go and find someplace cool?
The roads are pretty shitty. So I wouldn't drive pretty much anywhere in Russia. I mean, some people do. And there are some people who drive like all around Russia and spend like months just driving around, but I wouldn't.
Wow. That's a trip.
Yeah, what's it called? Not Serbia. What is it? Where it's all empty and it's part of Russia, but closer to like Mongolia and China and stuff. Shit, I forgot what it was called. But basically, like where there's the big holes in the ground. I don't know what those are called either. I should have looked it up. But
that's how much we know about about Russia. But
we know about Tetris.
but we hear about it. So what is like here? Obviously, it's Mexican food and tacos and pizza and burgers. What do they eat in Russia? Like the normal, just people, everyday people. Like what is it? What do people eat there?
I think Russia, especially Moscow, is so influenced by other countries' food right now that we have pretty much anything. We have everything from sushi to steaks and stuff like that. But like traditional Russian food, I recently brought one of my friends from Mexico to a Russian restaurant, and they tried some food, and they said it's actually very similar to Mexican food.
Really?
Some salads, some soups are pretty much the same, just a little bit different sauces, just a little bit different ingredients.
They're spicy?
Not always. But there is a lot of like salads based on mayonnaise, potatoes, meat, stuff like that. And they say it's very similar to what they used to eat in Mexico. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah. And then, so that's kind of like the street life there is basically, as far as food goes, is just like here. There's pretty much anything. Mm-hmm. Do you have is there McDonald's and shit out there too?
Of course. I think the first McDonald's was opened in Moscow in 1990 or 1991.
Oh, shit.
When I was born, pretty much.
Yeah.
That was the first Moscow McDonald's.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it was the USSR, right? Prior to that, and then it became Russia.
Right after.
So I was going to ask him about Putin, but I don't think I am, because that's kind of a little bit far out, I guess. So we won't. I don't know, because I'm telling you, dude, like we hear these crazy stories, just people that say anything or do anything in regards to like the Russian government is like, it's crazy. Is it that? Is that threatening or that fucking weird?
I wouldn't say it's threatening to regular people if you don't go out and do stupid stuff like protesting on the streets and stuff like that, which doesn't really change anything. It just makes you go to jail eventually. But I think it's similar there because Russian people know about United States the same they get from news. So it's all.
What do they think about us? Not you, because you've been here and the people that you know, but like the person that doesn't really know anybody or hasn't been here. What kind of propaganda or are they feeding the Russian people in regards to the United States?
Some people love United States. Some people hate it, and those who hate it are mostly just people who only seen anything else in news. They didn't really go anywhere. They didn't go to Europe. They never been to Europe or anywhere else, but they just watch news and they think,
so what is the news showing? Like I said, here we've got this perspective of Russian being like, corrupt and Putin's just it's hardcore, it's like he's like a dictator, that's what we're being fed. And that's maybe, I don't know if there's any truth in any of that, or just the Russian government being so strict and
I think there is some truth in it, but it's not what regular Russian people see every day.
Right.
So it's not a communist country anymore. Like some people still think that.
Right.
There is no communism in Russia. But some things are pretty strict. There's a little bit too much power for like special forces, police, and stuff like that. They can do a little bit too much. So people have less rights compared to other countries. But most people just don't see it. They just don't care. And people who get in trouble, they see it, they recognize it. And eventually they either want to move somewhere or they start protesting, which again doesn't do anything.
Not over there, like protesting, they just kind of arrest you and put you in jail.
Yep.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
Prior to you tattooing, did you travel?
Not much.
Not much.
I think I started traveling when I got some money doing tattoos.
Oh, okay.
where have you been?
A few different countries in Europe, Asia, Singapore, Thailand, Canada, United States, mostly in Europe, I think. It's the closest. Again, going to Europe is sometimes cheaper than going in other places in Russia. So if people have some money and they have some like vacation time, they choose either go to like Paris and spend this amount of money, or spend the same amount of money and go to see Baikal, which is the great lake, and see all that cool nature, but it's going to cost them the same as going to Paris.
What's it called?
Baikal.
And that's in Russia?
Yeah, that's like one of the biggest lakes in the world.
We spoke earlier when we were having lunch today about multiculturalism and people of color in Russia, because that's obviously in Southern California. That's what we're about here, and a lot of America's about that. The United States is about just a big mix of people of color. Is Russia kind of like that, or what's that like?
So before 90s, it was pretty much like Soviet Union, and it was a union of many different republics and countries in one. So it was like the biggest and the huge country. Nowadays it's different, and many of those countries separated from Russia. They are still kind of like a part of Russia, but they are not. And people from some of those countries, I guess I would say the same as like Mexicans for United States. Some people hate them, some people don't care, and stuff like that. But
he's thinking.
Yeah. So it's like Ukraine, right? Ukraine was a part of Russia.
no, I'm not talking about Ukraine, because Ukraine is all white too.
Oh, okay.
But there are other republics like Dagestan, Chechnya,
They're
and all
like
those.
Muslim.
Yeah, they're Muslim, and they have different traditions, different lifestyle. And when they come to, let's say, Moscow, they try to bring their lifestyle and traditions to Moscow, and
It's kind of like a culture clash,
yeah,
right? Like just people have different ideologies, different beliefs, different ways of carrying themselves, different ways of celebrating, different ways of
different ways of treating girls and people at all. So
yeah.
sometimes it looks like very bad for us, so we start hating them just because of that. Not because they are from different country or have different skin color, but just because how they treat people around
Their
them.
actions.
Yeah.
That's a trip. That's kind of a international thing with just every country kind of has the shit like that going on. But anyways, so is there anybody you want to shout out, anything that you want to add, or anything you want to say like this? And I encourage everybody to check out this dude's IG, because like I said, he's a beast, and it's always interesting for me or for anybody to talk to somebody from any foreign country, but Russia to us, like me, I'm really curious about that culture and lifestyle, and just because it seems so out of reach, I guess, right? Does it?
Well, I think he touched on it earlier, and you talk about it as well, where a lot of people who don't experience other cultures or other countries, they're ignorant to how the world really is. You know what I mean? And it's like if you don't experience the difference, like you just stay stuck in like my way or the highway, versus when you go visit people, you're like, oh, that's cool. And those people are living a good life, and know the truth other than what we see on like TV and stuff
that's
like
it
that.
too. Like what we were talking about at lunch is like, yeah, all that stuff you hear, whatever. So what if the government's this, that, but are people happy? Are people just cool with their lifestyle? Are people like content? And maybe they are. But our media is not going to tell us that. Our people they're not going to feed that to us. Like, but maybe in Russia too, they're telling us like, well, and they probably did, and looked at, during all the protests that happened several months ago and all the shit that goes down here, they're probably putting that and go, look at, this is happening in LA. This is happening in New York. This is happening in San Diego. These people are all fucking pissed off, and there's a lot of unrest, So, I mean, we, I guess, make ourselves look that way too. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, we see protests from all over the world because that's what they want to show you. They're not going to show you,
happy
the
people.
best of, huh? Yeah, happy people. Like, that's boring.
Yeah.
But I would imagine there's probably a lot of beauty and a lot of happy people there as well. It's just, that's not what the media is gonna show us, right?
And the thing is, I understand why not so many people, let's say from United States, travel to Russia, because you can easily go to any European country without any issues, without any visa. And to go to Russia just to visit, you have to go through a lot of like documents, papers, and stuff like that just to get a visa, and it's expensive, and you have to go there and you don't know what to do, you don't know who to see and stuff like that. So it's not as available to travel to Russia for some people. So it's much easier to go to like London or Paris or Rome.
Yeah.
Even though there's like a lot of cool stuff to see in Russia too.
Yeah.
But the government just don't make it easier for people from other countries to visit.
So that's the other thing that we were touching on earlier is that's what makes, the United States and Southern California so dope, in my opinion, is just because there's people from all over the world here, and even now like Russians here. So just it's a trip, and it was it was a pleasure to have you and to spend some time talking to you, and thanks for sharing maybe some things that
we're more interested in asking you questions.
Yeah. So Boring Tattooer,
Yep,
on YouTube. And then the other one is Dmitry,
it's
Mr.
Mr.
Troshin.
Yep,
that's
my
right.
Instagram.
MisterTroshin.
Yep.
That's right.
And there's a
check
Boring
them out.
Tattooer Instagram as well, right?
Yeah, but I just post announcers of new
okay.
episodes there, so it's pretty
So
much
if you're a
the same.
tattooer and you're wanting to maybe learn some techniques and check out some skills and things like that, definitely check them out. Shout out to Franco Vescovi,
Yes.
the Vatican,
Definitely.
Bishop Tattoo Supply.
Yeah, I appreciate a lot all those people who made possible for me to move here, and that's why I love it here so much,
It's
because
good
of
to
those
have
people.
you down here,
yeah.
man. It's like it's insane. Just I don't know how long, I met you a while back, like 5, 6.
I think it was 2015 in Montreal.
like 6 years ago or something at a tattoo convention in Montreal. But man, just to watch you grow and to see your work now, it's amazing. And thanks again for being here. We
Thank you so
appreciate your
much.
time, and
Thank you.
we enjoyed it. Lower Left Podcast. We're out.